Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Misfits Racing League. My name is Striffy, I'm here from Canada, and joining me from the UK, of course, Unicorn. How you doing? It's Thursday.
It's Thursday indeed, Striff. I am looking forward to this one. Tier 1, we've had some surprisingly action-packed races around Zandvoort, a track that really does not allow for a lot of overtaking, but we've seen plenty of it, and well, you throw that up on the Tier 1 grid, there's high expectations, I think, coming into this race.
There is a ton of dynamic racing that we have seen through now. Well, this is our fourth race of the week, so we've seen three crazy wild races around the Netherlands, and here we are for round 5 with Tier 1, which has given us already some pretty hectic races. I think of Hanoi when we've had such a dynamic week around the Netherlands, so we'll see how they go here in round 5. Next week we have Spain, of course. Following that, Monaco, Azerbaijan, Canada, France, Austria, Britain, Hungary, as well as Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, and then Japan. United States for round 19, then Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi for the finale of the season. It is a jam-packed calendar, and we're going through it all, well, for all 5 divisions, really. Of course, big shout out to our partners through all of it. Next Level Racing, they are coming in hard, putting a ton of support into the sim racing community, and they have an amazing lineup of sim racing products over on their website, so check them out, exclamation NLR in the chat. With that, we'll take a look at, of course, the standings here ahead of round 5. Value is leading things in the Red Bull. Following him, he has the newest Ferrari driver there in Paris Burrell, who has won races back-to-back, putting himself ahead of Ace Ritchie, who is currently 3rd for McLaren. It is a Red Bull, Ferrari, and AlphaTauri Constructors' Championship at the moment, Unicorn, and it is looking very intense through this grid so far this season. I am, well, to be fair, quite nervous at how things are going to go here in this race around the Netherlands.
Yeah, we've seen it so far this week that because it's so tricky and you've got a lot of fast drivers in all of the divisions, but trying to get past here, maybe get stuck in traffic after a tyre change, you come in the pit stop, you're in the lead, you come out, say you're P8, usually you should be able to just carve your way through people on older tyres. Around here, it is not that simple. You've got turn 1 and you've got turn 12, and even turn 12 is a stretch for overtaking. There are opportunities elsewhere, but every time you overtake somewhere that isn't turn 1, there is much more risk than there usually is trying to overtake around any other track in the game. And I think that is what, as we've seen in the previous few races this week, has changed the finishing order from what you might typically see from what we've seen in the first opening 4 rounds of the season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Of course, with that, we should be just about ready to go racing here. Of course, 18 minutes of qualifying, 50% distance race. It is a 36-lap race here around Zandvoort. And one thing, of course, that we haven't seen yet in the racing is a wet weather dynamic. And that is something that I think everybody has been coming into this race wondering. Haven't seen it through Tier 3, not through Americas, and not through Tier 2 yesterday. Will Tier 1 be the one race that finally cracks, has a little bit of rain through? And I think that that would be something very dynamic, as this grid hasn't seen it yet this season. I think we'd all love to see it.
Yeah, and it's a surprise we haven't seen it yet. I think this is, the first track on that calendar where there's people expect it coming into the race. Wherever this race was on the calendar, you'd expect this one that we'd see rain at least once this week. And we've still got a couple of races to come over on the weekend. But right now we haven't seen it. I think that's been a big surprise to everyone that we haven't seen rain in any race so far. We've seen it in a couple of qualifying sessions in China, but we haven't really seen it take a huge impact anywhere. But, well, with the drivers readying up here, can Tier 1 break that deadlock? We want some wet weather. Well, we want it. I'm pretty sure everyone watching it wants it. I don't think the drivers probably want it, but it would be an amazing spectacle to watch these guys go around a wet Zandvoort.
Well, here we go now. The driver's now getting readied up, as it is 3:01 in, well, here in Ontario, but it's 8:01 for you, Unicorn, in the UK, and 9 for our friends across Europe. And this is going to be a very thrilling race. I am very excited for this one. The clock is ticking down now, and we are going to jump right into action here for our qualifying session. Of course, if there's any technical difficulties, let us know. If we have any kind of issues, Unicorn will be on standby. It's been a roller coaster of a season this far on my end, I'll say, and internet things and stuff like that playing some fun at me. But we are getting loaded into this session here, waiting on Mr. Ace and Brain Stew, the last two to load up on in. Any favorites for those of us in the chat? Anybody in the chat wanting to get their predictions in, of course? Who is taking pole position here for the Dutch Grand Prix?
It's going to be a hard-fought battle. A lot of speculation has been around what this Tier 1 pole time will be. Every week we come in, that's looking a pretty overcast as we load in. No rain falling, but that looks like it could dry, according to Fraser. I think that there is a little bit of a disappointment that we haven't seen it yet. We're not going to see it here in Tier 1, but I'm sure the drivers are happy. But yeah, the pole time here is going to be very interesting. 107, somewhere in that region. But how close, how far into the 107s can we get? I think world record is something like a 107.7. But let's have a look at who is going on for those times. We've got Milan at the top of the time tower at the moment. Valu in the Red Bull, currently sitting P1 in the standings. Ace Ritchie behind him, third place. Then we have Sindaku, Domi, Fraser, Microlander in the other Red Bull. Freeware, Dason, ZZ9, Tim, Dougie Falcons, Brownie, Shenjay, Yoda, Paris, who's currently sitting second and could take the lead here with another win. Then we have Alex Biddo, Vexit, Blotel, and Brainstew rounds out all 20 drivers. And I think it's an AlphaTauri, but which one of them was first out? It was Freeware.
Yeah, I thought for a moment there it had been Vexit. And then I had seen a little navy dot traveling along that track map, and I had checked in with Shenjay, but it was Freeware. So the German driver in the AlphaTauri will be the first driver to set a potential time here. And we'll have to just see how he goes around here. Of course, Unicorn, you've got some experience around here. Why don't you take us through this one?
Well, here comes Freeware, charging down towards turn one. That incredible overtaking spot, probably the best one on the track. Then coming out through this slight left-hander of turn two, then into turn three and turn four. A very interesting banked curve. Everyone thinks about the last turn as the bank curve, but this one as well. Huge then through turn five. Freeware getting a nice slipstream off of Valu, a very powerful place to get it through 6 into 7, and now through the long right-hander of 8. So Freeware here could be on for a nice banker lap with that slipstream he got off of the Red Bull there. Now coming through into turn 10, keeping it nice and tight to the right-hand side now into 11. The exit here is really important as you go on to this other DRS straight, the only other DRS zone on the track, now down into turn 12. I'm sure we'll see plenty of action into here over the course of the evening. Now 13 for Freeware, heading out of the corner nicely into 14, the penultimate corner. Be careful not to invalidate it on the exit. Then around turn 15, the famous banked curve to round up the lap. Hugging towards the pit wall, DRS enabled. It's on 108.2, and that is a very, very nice banker lap from Freeware.
Yeah, that's a really good time to get in here to get things started. Exit crosses a 108.399 behind him. Who's next? Shenjay, a 108.326 in the other AlphaTauri. So it's the AlphaTauris on the front row at the minute. Plenty more drivers on the move, though. Valu has just begun a flyer in the Red Bull. So we'll see who he is able to put forth here, as more drivers are also starting laps. We'll check in with the Ferraris. Domi to the line. It's P4 for him now, the fourth time set. It's a 108.836 for the Scuderia Ferrari squad here so far. Someone else just jumped in. It's the Spaniard. It's Lil Blotel in the Mercedes. A 108.151. Neatly done from him. The Renaults are now on the board. It's ZZ9 and Fraser 5-6 for them. Tim breaks them up into 6 with the Haas.
Yeah, I was just on board with Valu. He hasn't invalidated, but he has dropped the lap, so he won't be best pleased with how his first half of his first attempt has gone. Paris, though, he is flying a little bit sideways coming out of turn 11, but he's going to soldier on, keeping it going down into turn 12. Not using any ERS, though, so I'm wondering if he's dropped this lap as well.
Two
Using
drivers
ERS
that
again now.
seemed that got caught up in something there. Paris was also on an aborted run. Sindako to the line now. The Racing Point into 4th position. His countryman, his rival, Brain Stew, goes 5th. As I say that, Paris comes in with a 108.2 banker here. I thought he had dropped the lap, but he came through quick enough in that Ferrari to move some of these guys back. Very good time from him here so far. Milan in the Haas. He's on the move coming through into Sector 3.
Interesting. I think Paris there just managing the ERS around the lap. It is a fairly difficult circuit to manage the ERS around, and I think maybe he just turned it off, using it for acceleration so he can save it for as much acceleration on the final corner as possible. Now Milan, like you said, coming through the final corner, keeping it very tight to the inside. What's he going to be able to produce? It's a 108.138, just knocking off Blotel by 0.02 of a second.
Very nice time from him. Brownie, the German driver, the Williams. He's coming through into Sector 3 right now. He will be looking to do some serious times here in this qualifying session. The first one is about to come through. Sindako pulling off to the inside as he's on his in-lap. Brownie will come through the penultimate turn now into the iconic banking. DRS wide open on that rear wing. And what will the time be from the German? It's good enough for 10th position here so far. It's a 108.5. And as we take a look now, the gap from 1st down to 16th for all of the time set in this session is less than 7/10 here, as we have 3 cars now retired in this session. Ace Ritchie serving a qualifying ban, if I am not mistaken, today. Not entirely sure what's happened with Yoda, and I think Bido may be serving a qualifying ban as well, if someone in the chat is able to clarify.
Yeah, no one else out on a fly right now. A few drivers hopping out already for a second lap. Freeware first out. He'll be first to set the second lap as well, but you know, everyone just sort of doing the routine, coming out for a first one. Although Freeware is aboard it straight away. I don't know if he wasn't happy with his exit coming out of the final corner, but as soon as he crossed that line, he pretty much just took his foot off the throttle. So very interesting from him.
We have 3 drivers who won't be setting laps here. Domi has just begun in the Ferrari. I believe he is the only driver on an active flyer now on circuit, so we'll just ride along with him.
Yeah, huge lockup coming into turn 4, and there's a spin for the Ferrari. He's managed to catch it, and he's not even going to hit the wall. But there goes Vexit through on a flyer as well, but not what Domi wants to be doing in that Ferrari. He's currently the slowest driver on track at the moment, a 108.8. I imagine he could do a lot faster than that, but confidence going to be low coming into the second half of this session.
Fraser on the move has just flown by him in the Renault. Coming down the hill. He is up on his time as he makes his way through Sector 2.
Yeah, the Racing Points haven't had the best of luck so far this week, but through into the final sector, the final couple of corners. See what Vexa can produce, both in the point scoring position right now, just about keeping it valid on the exit of turn 14 through the banking. And the Racing Point slots himself up into P6, a 1/10 improvement, and that just goes to show how tight this grid is right now. And he's only half a tenth of Paris ahead of him.
Fraser goes 10th quickest here, 108.434 here in the session. All drivers getting these times in on softs, not a single driver choosing to go for the mediums at this moment.
Yeah, some drivers struggling right now. Blotel, invalidated flyer. Shenjie had a mistake somewhere. He was 6/10 down on his previous best. Obviously, Freeway aborted instantly. So some of these drivers who are currently sitting at the top of the timer tower right now, they might not be ending up there if they continue to struggle right now, as the track will get a little bit better for these drivers. Conditions will improve.
Freeware now to the line. What's he going to do here? He improves by 0.016, just shy of 0.02 of a second. It will not move him. His teammate Shenjay also flying, just coming out of Sector 2.
Well, he just needed 1 or 2 more thousandths of a second, Shrift, and it would have moved him ahead of Valu. Those times right now different by 0.001 of a second, so Prix will be bitterly disappointed that he didn't find it.
Shenjay running wide, coming through the penultimate turn onto the curbing, and he will abort that time and fly into the pit lane. Bindacco, meanwhile, the Italian, well, it appeared that he was on a flyer. He may have dropped the lap, though. We'll have to see for a moment here. It did not appear he was up through Sector 1, coming through out of Sector 2. Is he up on his time? No, he is not. Not improving. Jason to the line will go 12th quickest. Nearly 3/10 for him. Improved. Let's take a look at the gap to leader right now. Gap from first down to 16th position on this grid. My oh my. My oh my, it is 0.460, half a second. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 drivers will not be qualifying in Microlander. Well, I imagine he'll be somewhere within this range, and this, well, there's half this qualifying session left, Unicorn.
Yeah, Milan right now, he's going to try and extend that gap to leader. Currently sitting in that provisional pole slot. The Haas driver right now just coming through out of turn 8 across the timing line. And, well, he's lost 1.1 seconds, so he will be aborting this lap. So these banker laps, they seem to have been pretty fast. Valu, he's on an invalidated flyer. Paris, he is up. He's 2/10 faster than his previous best. And this could see us have the first 107 of the session as he comes through the final corner in the Ferrari. Coming across the line, what's it going to be? It's a 108.1. It is going to be provisional pole, but we haven't seen a 107 yet. I think a few people are expecting it from chatter in the Discord. Looks like Valu is going to go again here.
Jason's going to fly into the pit lane. We'll jump on with Valu there. The Red Bull, he's currently fourth. A 108.193. The separation between the top 5. Just the top 5 right now, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's less than a 10th. I love it. Absolutely love it. Welcome to Tier 1 MRL, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Blotel on a flyer as well up in that top 5. And like you said, you really don't have to find a lot of improvement as Brain Stew slots himself into that P1 slot with an identical lap to Paris.
Oh my, the Italian in the Alfa Romeo is coming through, and he's throwing the gauntlet down right in front of the Ferraris here, Unicorn. Paris is going to be looking at this going, no, not possible. Brain Stew's duplicated Paris's time.
ZZ9.
Oh, this gap. Well, oh, this gap. Look at the gap. This gap between first to 7th is something else. Blotel now comes across a 107.988 provisional pull out of the Mercedes camp, and the Spaniard will be happy with that.
Yeah, Vexit, he's coming down. He's on a very, very slight improvement, and he just needs to find that little bit extra coming through this final sector to see himself into that top 5. It really is close up at the front right now. You could just see everyone from 2nd all the way down through 7th on a 108 flat or a 108.1. And can Vexit join that club? Not quite. Yet. A 108.246. An improvement, but not a huge one.
One thing to note here, Unicorn, while we were looking on with Vexit, was that Valu had crossed a 108.021 in that Red Bull. And this has made such a dynamic in this race. Who else will be able to do something about these times on the front end of this grid? This is a very, very rapid looking race that we're about to see unfold here. Of course, Netherlands not without its, well, unique situations and scenarios, Unicorn. We've seen quite a few of them through the past few races around here. Blotel will head into the pit lane now, and not a lot of drivers currently on flyers. We'll take a look in with Microlander in the Red Bull. It would appear he is on an in lap. 108.951 was the time he was able to get through into the board. He still has time to get in and go out once again.
Yeah, Domi on a flyer right now. He is finding some improvement, and this could see him rocket into that top 10. But you just need to look at the previous races this week. Yesterday, for example, no one on that podium started in those top 3 slots. So there's a lot that can change in this race, and a lot will change over the course of those 36 laps once we get into them. Domi now to the line, 8th place, 2/10 improved for the Ferrari driver, and he'll be happy with that after the spin earlier on in the session.
Gap to leader right now, first down to 16th, is 5.51 to Microlander, less than a second, with Ace Ritchie third in the standings, currently serving a qualification ban. Bido, who was near taking a podium last week in China, is going to be starting with a qualification ban. And Yoda, well, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure what's happened with the Williams, but he's in 19th position here to start this race, and well, we know what he's capable of as well. This grid, each and every driver is capable of wins, and this qualifying is painting us a very clear picture of that, Unicorn.
Yeah, on a track that's so hard to overtake and a grid as close as it is right now, this race is going to be one to watch. One wrong move from any of these drivers could just see massive positional gain for anyone, depending on who can take the most advantage of it. So these guys are going to have to be on top of their game. They really can't afford to put a foot out of line and make those, just silly mistakes in the race. And we've seen a few drivers so far this week just maybe a little bit over-ambitious into turn 12. This race is one of attrition. You need to be patient around this track when you're going for the moves. And, well, whoever's the most patient is going to sit here. But qualifying is so, so important. And I think the gap to leader right now is just showcasing that all of these drivers know just what is at stake in this qualifying session.
Sindako has just begun a flyer here. I believe it will be the last opportunity he has to get a time in. Few lockups here and there for the Italian, but he is going to do what he can to get that car into the top 10, I'm sure. Fraser behind him is also flying, and the majority of this grid you can see on our timing tower. They are indicated on out laps, which means, well, there's going to be a ton of traffic on this circuit, Unicorn, here at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. And this, you can see now, Sindako actually getting a little bit of a slipstream of his teammate. So that's an interesting place to do it. Apparently, what I've been told, Sector 1 is actually the better place to do that rather than the straight, which seems a little bit counterintuitive, but still not going to hurt his time, that's for sure, as Blotel, I think he's actually crashed through Sector 2.
That's on circuit. We're going to check in with Sindako now as he gets to the line. We're going to take a look at Shenjay, who's coming through there. Blotel is indeed crashed on circuit. More drivers moving through, coming by Shenjay. We'll see what's going on with the Mercedes here from Milan's POV. That car has now been removed from circuit, but it would appear that he retired into the wall there, Mr. Blotel. Very unfortunate for him, but he does have pole position for the moment. However, a variety of drivers are looking to contest that right now. Value is purple through Sector 1. Tons of racers coming to the line. ZZ9 says hello. P3 at 108.098.
Paris isn't going to be improving on this lap. Maybe serving up some ERS to go again. And it looks like that's exactly what he's doing, but I hope he hasn't just hurt Value's chances there, who was coming through on a fly just behind him. The Red Bull driver, 0.005 of a second down. Can he find the improvement through the final sector that he needs? He is. It's a 107.9, and there we go. Paris now on a flyer for himself, and can he make it 3 wins in a row? I think that was Vexit crossing a 108.1 in the other racing point, just slowing himself behind his teammate there. Paris needs to get himself out of this deadlock he's got with Brainstew, both on identical times right now. The Alfa Romeo, he's coming through the final sector now. His teammate Dayson as well. He's going to be first to the line. He's invalidated though, so no improvement for Dayson so far. Brainstew finding a bit more luck though. He's up 0.04 of a second. Any more time to find in this final sector? Milan's just 1,000th of a second ahead of him, but he's actually lost time to that final second. Shenjay hops into P3 at 108 flat. And there's Freeware, his teammate, a 107.868. That is an astonishing time. Paris has invalidated, and I think Freeware, ladies and gentlemen, is tonight's pole sitter, unless Domi has anything to say about it.
Well, that was an absolutely massive time coming from the German in the AlphaTauri. He is going to be happy with that. That, I think, will be the last time set here. Brownie The other German driver into the pit lane here. 108.499. He will not be improving. And, well, that I think is going to wrap up this qualifying session here. Unicorn, Freeware, Value, Blotel. The top three heading into Tier 1 Round 5 action. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. It's the Netherlands. It's Zandvoort. And I do not know what to expect off the line in this one. We've seen some very explosive race starts. Absolute intensity. We had the opening safety car in Tier 3. We had a safety car very shortly after the beginning of Tier 2 as well. And we'll have to just see how things play out here in Tier 1. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, everybody who's hanging out in the MRL stream, thank you for being here. Share that stream. This race, I have a feeling, is going to present us with a very, very entertaining evening. Once again, Freeware on pole position, the German, the AlphaTauri driver, 107.868. Value, the Finn in the Red Bull behind him. Oh, it was a 107.904. Just 0.036 seconds behind the German, and we have Blotel there, who is looking quite rapid. He was the first of the three of them to get into those 107s, but he will round out the top three ahead of this race. Shenjie will be fourth in the other AlphaTauri, with ZZ9 rounding out your top five. Three drivers yet to set times here. Yoda, not entirely sure what happened to the Williams. No time set from him. Maybe trying a different strategy here in the Netherlands. Richie, Mr. Ace, the Dutch driver, the hometown driver, serving a qualification ban with Mr. Alex Biddo in Mercedes. So, welcome everybody. It's Tier 1, and, well, I'm very excited for this one, Unicorn.
Yeah, the top 10 are within 3/10 of each other. That can only just tell us the story that this race is going to be a very, very close one. We've seen trains already this week. We are going to see an absolutely huge train in this race as everyone gets loaded into the lobby. Like Striff said, we will go through the grid in just a moment. But a big thanks to everyone tuning in right now, and a big thanks again to our partner, Next Level Racing, amazing sim rig racing company who are doing absolutely brilliant stuff for the sim racing community. So be sure to set them out !NLR in that chat if you want to go check out their website and have a look through their amazing products. But we're just waiting for everyone else to load in. Now we've got that countdown timer, so everyone's in. Everyone's ready, getting their setups adjusted. Tire strategies dialed in. Everyone qualified on the softs, but obviously those outside the top 10 will have mediums and hards to choose to.
Five seconds now. Left. Yeah, we're just getting in now. We've been told it's going to be a dry campaign, which it was a little bit of a disappointment for us, Unicorn, but of course a major sigh of relief for everybody involved on the grid. And now we're on the formation lap. We'll get a good, clear indicator of who's all racing where at the start of this race. Pole position, once again, Freeware. Value behind him, starting on the front row in the Red Bull. Blotel will start third here with Shenjie in fourth. ZZ9 in fifth in the Renault. Milan will be sixth here for the start of this race with Brainstew behind him. Paris Burrell, Sindako. We also have Vexit, Domi, Tim, Fraser, Dougie, Hassan, Markelander, Brownie, Ace, Yoda, and Biddo all on this grid. Top 10 all on the softs. Back 10 on the harder compound tires. Only 4 out of the 10 on the mediums. The other 6 on the hards. What do you think about this one, Unicorn?
Yeah, I can't lie. I'm a little bit surprised by those tire compounds, Striff, hopping out in those final 10 drivers. No softs is a bit of a surprise. 4 drivers on the medium, a lot more on the hards than I expected as well. The bottom 5 all on the hard compound tires. Dougie Falcons as well. Down in 14th position on the hards. So I have to watch out for him. But yeah, Dayton in 15th. Fraser and Domi 11th through 13th on the mediums as well. We'll have to see what they can do. If they can punch a hole through these top 10 once those softs start to die out, because once someone blinks, everyone's going to have to blink in that top 10. They are not going to get away from each other. I think a few drivers, I think Freeware and a couple others in that top 10 did a couple of laps on their soft tires to get those laps. I think maybe just trying to get those tire temperatures to where they wanted to be. So some of the softs probably only going to make it to lap 12, not going to be able to stretch it out for a soft medium. Maybe we see medium soft come out of Domi, Tim, Fraser, or Dyson, and obviously the hard runners. Or we could see them hard medium or hard soft, depending on any safety cars. I imagine we will have a few here as just the last few drivers get themselves onto this grid.
Of course, let us know your thoughts in the chat. How many safety cars are we going to see in this race? But it is time to go racing here in the Netherlands. The lights are on. The engines are revving. 5 red lights here around Zandvoort. We are away racing. The drivers are off and off the line. We're looking already at Blotel, having a look on the outside of the Red Bull. That's Valu on the inside of Freeware, coming through the first and second turns now. Oh, and there goes the Finn, leading the German through out of the front of this race. He's not going to be too thrilled about that. We hop on with ZZ9 now. There's so much action through this race start. So far, everything looking clean throughout this grid. There's some wheel-to-wheel action still coming through Sector 1. There's one car off. I'm not entirely sure who it is. It would appear
Bido.
Alex Bido's had an issue, but no damage on that car. Richie, wheel-to-wheel right now. The Red Bull Microlander on his inside as we come through Sector 2 now. That's Microlander still leading through on this McLaren. What action we're seeing unfold here. So much intensity. The timing tower isn't giving us a clear indication. But we know everybody's tight, and we know everybody's looking for early position. We're coming through now. The Alfa Romeo Shenjie is really holding off Brain Stew here. Wow. What a race start. And here we have a major issue. It would appear there's been a collision involving the Williams, as there's Yoda, Brownie, 1819, and we have a VSC deployment here. Any damage on these cars?
Well, I'll tell you who does have damage. Freeware, and he's hopping straight into the pit lane from that incredible pole time strift. Lost an end plate coming through Sector 1 in those opening few laps, and, well, medium straight onto that AlphaTauri, and he will not be happy with this race start. Paris, he's had an excellent start, 3 places, gained his brain stew as well, like you said, just picking up his 4th position from Shenjie just before that VSC got called. So very nice start from him, and there are a lot of drivers taking advantage of this, and already there's 4 drivers, I think, still in their starting positions here, Striff.
Yeah, the change up here has been massive already. We'll take a look at the gaps and the, of course, position changes as the timing tower gets itself sorted out, but we're just waiting on the VSC to come offline before we go back to green flag racing. We were being shown at the head, and it would appear Microlander, he's just taken a drive through for speeding under VSC. His teammate, however, he is off and away. Timing tower working to sort itself out. Brain Stew following with Blotel, and we are back racing here. Sindako, he's looking at the Haas of Milan ahead. Had to hop the curve there. Nearly, I think that might have nearly been an issue there, Unicorn.
Yeah, well, Paris just got Shenjie sleeping on the restart. Coming out of turn 11, Paris just sent it up the inside on the restart and just absolutely breezed past the AlphaTauri. So very nicely done from him. Like you said, Brainstew really looking good on this race start. He's now looking at Blotel, seeing if he can find another move, and I think everyone's just sort of calmed down now. There's still this huge train from second all the way down to 11th place. For Yoda, it's a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Brownie. Brownie got one as well, but he served it in the pit lane. So unfortunate for the Williams, but not what I want to be doing. Microlander, he's into the pits in that Red Bull. But it's his teammate Valu running away with it at the top right now. 1.5 seconds the gap to P2 in Blotel.
There's so much action going on circuit right now as the entire grid all the way down to where Yoda is in a train behind Blotel. And because of this train behind Blotel, Valu is getting a unique opportunity to potentially pull away in that Red Bull. We were now on the rear of Alex Bido, quite close to the rear of the Spaniard. We'll see what the German's able to do. Fresh rubber, medium rubber as well. Showing a little bit more pace coming through the corner there. Coming through now Sector 3. I think we might be seeing an overtake here shortly. Fast laps coming through now as Blotel has the current one, an 11.452.
Yeah, very nice pace already at this stage of the race, especially given the VSC and all of that. Good stuff, and no DRS as well at the moment, at least for Blotel. But I want to speak about Domi on the medium tires in 9th place already.
What a battle we're seeing unfold here between the German and the Spaniard. Alex Bido, Freeware, very tight racing here. Alex Bido comes through. Freeware's been caught, and I have to say, I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but it does not appear there's any damage on the front left wing of that AlphaTauri. Bido drives through ahead into 13th position.
Yeah, a couple of people saying desync, so Again, we've seen it a couple of times this week. It's been plaguing a few drivers as Dougie, he's getting pretty close to the rear of Dyson. Tire advantage in for the McLaren, but very, very unfortunate for Freeware. This race was looking so good in qualifying, but ever since that checkered flag, or those starting lights, sorry, went out, it has been just going downhill from there, and he sits in 14th place. And like I said, no damage on the AvaTauri, but he will not be happy in the cockpit of that car.
No, definitely not going to be thrilled about that. The one, you know, silver lining I'll say is the fact that he might not have damage. I mean, it wasn't visible that he had any damage, but I've known there to be a bit of a difference between what we see and what's actually going on the diagram. Meanwhile, Sindako super tight to the rear of Milan here. I thought he might have had a move. He's definitely looking for it, but this entire grid's in a train right now. Value, he's 1.5 seconds away from Blotel, and he has been for some time. Here we go, wheel to wheel coming through the first and second turns now between Dyson and Dougie Falcons. This is where we saw Freeware go at it with Biddo. This time the Alfa Romeo on the inside, the McLaren around the outside. Who's going to have the better exit here? Nigel, excuse me, Dyson. Not Nigel anymore, Dyson now, but yeah, he's coming through around the outside as we come down the hill. This is beautiful wheel-to-wheel action between the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo. It looks like Dougie is going to hold for now with that Alfa Romeo in his rearview mirrors.
Yeah, nothing's changed up in the big train ahead, and Sinaku was close to the Milan, but ZZ9's ahead of them as well. Nothing really taking. Everyone still within DRS range, and even on this circuit, as Brainstew, he's going to have a look around the outside of Blotel into turn one. A bit of a late move. Seems like he might just be able to try and find the exit as they come through these opening few corners and into turn four. It's a huge lunge for Brainstew. Is this going to allow Paris to have a look up through the door? It's not. Brainstew now up into P2. He's had an astonishing first 6 laps of this race, and they now sit in P2 in that Alfa Romeo. Brilliant stuff from him, and he is up 5 places already. Paris behind them, he's up 4 as well, and he'll be hungry to join him in 5 places gained.
That was 2 back-to-back fantastic wheel-to-wheel encounters, tight, hard racing, positions. You know, it's all for fun in these leagues, and you just love to see clean racing like that, Unicorn. Let us know in the chat, guys. What did you think about those moves? What did you think about the racing? How are you guys liking this race so far? I personally am really enjoying it. This is going to be a spicy one, especially when it comes down to strategy. And once overtakes start happening, risks start being taken as we move into the latter stages of this race, I imagine the drama will begin to unfold as we've seen it all week long. As soon as the pit stops start coming through, those tire differentials, those are the monkey wrenches in these equations. Those are the scenarios of drama that we've seen through the week.
Yeah, and I think Brainstew right now, he's clearly got a knack for overtaking around this circuit. That is going to serve him very well. He's picking and choosing his moves very nicely. So when he gets thrown to the back of this train...
Biddo, Freeware, wheel-to-wheel through turn 1. Biddo this time on the rear of the German. Freeware not taking any prisoners this time. And albeit Freeware, even with that issue, has managed to catch the Spaniard and do what he needed to do in order to get through on him. The question is, will Biddo have an answer for this?
Well, he's going to have to try and find one, that's for sure. He will not be happy that that position has been taken, but Freeware on the better tyres right now will have the advantage as they come through these opening sections. And, well, Freeware making back the position that he lost in that earlier incident. And, again, he's just not going to be happy with how this race has started, but he's still got a lot of opportunity to come back here.
I think Blotel might be in trouble here, the Ferrari of Paris. He's not utilizing a lot of energy right now, and I think he's picking and choosing his battles with that battery. Battery here. Ooh, Blotel with a big lockup. This might have given Paris one of those opportunities to really reel that Mercedes in. Oh, this is a very interesting exchange. Let's keep an eye on this for a moment here. Blotel struggling on the rear of the Italian in Brainstew.
And a lot of the racing at this track is just that reeling in drift. What Paris is doing right now, he just needs to get close enough. Because when you are close and when you can stay close, that's when you get the move down into turn 1. That's when you get the move down into turn 12. Up the inside and maybe even around the outside for turn 1. But he just needs to be close. And I think we're going to see it here. Like you said, ERS is well and truly in the advantage of Paris. He's going to reel Blotel in here down into turn 12, and now he's going to have a look through into turn 1. He is much closer than he was last lap. And like you said, it looked like he was going to go for the move there. Blotel, his only saving grace. That DRS he's getting off the rear of Brain Stew as they come through the final corner. Blotel just seems to have a little bit more of a carry of speed, and that might be his saving grace again because he's got that DRS still.
Yeah, it's hard to overtake when you're in a train and that driver ahead is dancing that battery around with the guy in front, utilizing that rear wing. And it's something we've seen through the week. And that's why I'm very, very excited to see what happens when the pit stops come through, when these undercuts, overcut happen. And it's going to be a very interesting dynamic to see how those fresh rubber runners really behave with the, the drivers ahead on the older tires, because we have a significant amount of harder running drivers in this grid. It's not like the majority of the grid started on softs here. The majority of the grid, well, it was split realistically, but the majority of the grid is now on harder compound tires because of the opening lap dramas.
Yeah, it was a perfect 50-50 split, like you said, between the softs and then the two other compounds. Now, still 9 runners on the softs, but they won't be on them for too much longer. Pit window really starts to open in about 2 laps time. Most people will be aiming for lap 12. I think that's sort of the sweet spot around here. Maybe a few will push for the mediums, but again, that's risky, and you really risk going into puncture territory. These guys battling out for P2 right now, starting to split up, like you said. Blotel dropping off the back of Brainstew, and Paris just hasn't been reeling in Blotel in the same fashion that he was a couple of laps ago. So maybe just a bit of better tire management coming out of Blotel in that Mercedes. It's going to be hard to judge, and it's not really visible for us, but very nice for him to just keep the Spaniard behind him for now. Meanwhile, Paris' teammate Domi on these medium tires, his strategy is one of interest because he's on those medium tires. He's in that top 10, the only driver in the top 10 right now, not on the starting soft compound tires. Still on his starting tires, but can he push for a medium soft? Again, risky, but definitely possible.
Definitely possible, but as you said, risky. And, well, P9 on the mediums with the 8 drivers ahead of him, all needing to come in sooner. We'll have to see if he's able to pull a gap out, because the driver behind him is also on the softs and will need to come in as well. Tim is 3.3 seconds off the rear of Vexit, which gives Domi a little bit of a window to pull away from somebody instead of being stuck in a train, as the majority of these soft runners are. Now we have pit stops coming from the top 3. Excuse me. Majority of the soft runners are coming in. So it's Paris, Milan, Sindako. Oh, here goes Domi with a big move on the inside, and now...
Oh, and he's collected Vexit as well.
Oh, that is a very unfortunate incident there. Domi on the inside, trying to catch a snap here. Vexit coming through the first turn, getting collected in it. Debris on track. Both drivers are missing end plates now. And who's going to be looking to benefit from this? Well, he was 3.3 seconds behind a few moments ago, but he's watching Domi and Vexit go wheel to wheel right now. Vexit has just been dispatched by Domi for 4th. Here comes Tim. It would appear that Vexit really struggling with the damage on that front end right now. It is a very good chunk of damage on that front left. Domi holding 4th. Tim, with no damage on that Haas, is going to be looking to get this position. Domi really, really holding Tim here, really squeezing him off. Tim, with a better exit, is leading the Ferrari through into the next corner. How is Domi going to handle this Haas? Well, he's going to get on the rear of that Haas, and he's just going to follow him through, because I have to say, he didn't have many other options there, Unicorn.
Yeah, well, Domi's got a huge chunk of damage as well, so I don't really know where he's fighting. You can see Vexit there just sort of pulled off the racing line, let Tim go without too much of a hindrance to himself. He knows that he just needs to get the car to the pit lane, get a new front wing. They would have been pit earlier behind him. Yoda's just absolutely spun it straight out of the final corner. Miraculous that Williams is still running and hasn't broken the front suspension. But he has come straight into the pit lane. That was a huge, huge snap from the Williams.
That was massive.
But who's in lead now?
That was absolutely massive. That iconic banking, that final turn can be such a difficult turn to come out of. We saw XTXP yesterday have an issue there.
Yeah, fairly easy place to lose it, but still got a few drivers on these softs. Paris, Milan, Sindaku, Tim, like you said. Let's see where he drops now. He doesn't have Domi to contend with, and all these incidents, Striff, they might be slowly bringing Freeware back into the running as well. He's already back into a point-scoring position. His tyres will not go to the end. We know that for sure. But 9 laps on the mediums. He's got a few left, and he should be able to stretch them to softs at least.
Well, Freeware showed us in the qualifying session, of course, the pole sitter for this race, that he is absolutely no slouch around Zandvoort. And with all of these situations unfolding ahead of him, he has been able to find himself back into the points, albeit a lot of hard runners ahead of him, fresh hard runners ahead of him. He is quite close to getting himself into the DRS range of ZZ9, and if he's able to get himself into a train, well, that would be perfect.
Well, Paris has come out of the pit lane. He joins in the battle in this mid-pack, and he is not too far behind these leaders. Valu, Brainstew, Blotel ahead of him, all on the same strategy, one lap older tyres. And, well, that doesn't seem like it'll make the difference now, but maybe later in the race, Paris will just be feeling the tyre wear a little bit less than the rest of these guys. Still Milan and Sindaku to pit Tim as well, ahead of them on the mediums.
One thing to talk about here with Valu was that when he was leading this race in that Red Bull, there was a static gap between the second position driver. It was 1.5 seconds dancing around that range. Now he has Brainstew within DRS, and considering he wasn't able to push that gap outside of DRS, I am thinking that Valu may be in trouble here with this train now, right behind him. Of course, Valu had an amazing start at the beginning of this race, and I think it definitely assisted him in getting out in front by a little bit. But now the train's back, and I think it's going to be very hard to shake it.
Yeah, Red Bull pit will come in to say that Valu got held in the pit lane there, so that's what's cost him that lead. And, well, once you're in a DRS train, there's not really a lot of escape from it. The only hope I think he can get is maybe trying to pull away with DRS from Tim. That's his only hope, but I really don't think then it's just going to add a car to the front of the train. I don't think it's really going to aid the Red Bull too much.
Well,
so
that would be one thing. That would be one thing, except Brainstew's just dancing in this 3/10 range right now, and he's just putting that pressure on in the rear view. Valu, not a driver that really falls to pressure easily, but Brainstew, definitely a driver you want to be aware of in your rear view mirrors, because he's here for winning, as all of these drivers are. And you never know when that snap might come to the inside to try and make a move. We saw Brainstew last week in China have a real quick one on Yoda, one of the moves of the race, if you remember it, George, where he snapped down into that hairpin. Any more fast moves like that, and he might be looking at an extra position, because it was neatly done from him.
yeah, Brainstew, really interesting strategy as well, coming out last week. So I will have to see what happens. Valu right now up into P2 as Milan and Sadaki both go for the mediums. They are going to stretch that soft medium, but Valu at the top of the standings right now. He's yet to win a race though, Striff. Could Zandvoort be that final chance to get on that top spot? He hasn't had one yet. He's had 4 podiums out of 4 races, but not a win. Is this the race? As he has caught up to DRS range of Tim. He's taken on a real chunk of time as Vexit calls it quits in the pit lane.
Yeah, he took a 5-second on the way in there as well. I don't know if it was the 5-second that did it or if it was the intention on the way in. But he has now retired out of this race. We're down to 19 runners in this race. Valu within half a second of Tim ahead on his starting rubber.
Yeah, Tim, he'll be going for a little longer, I think. It depends what he's going for. I imagine at this point, still the medium hard's available to him. He could still push for that medium to soft freeware as well. He still needs to pit out of P8, and that could see him drop drastically in this grid. Here goes Valu, though, up the inside of the hash, trying to dispatch him. It is for position. A little light tap from Brainstew in the rear. And I think that might have just cost Valu any run he might have had out of that first turn. So Tim goes back up into P1, and this has just tightened these 3 drivers. Valu, Brainstew, and Blotel now. Here goes Brainstew. He's going to have a look side by side through sector 1.
Oh!
And, he never runs well. And that's the Alfa Romeo into the wall.
That was touch and go there. He gets it back on track with a lot of drivers coming through behind him. That's into the wall. Oh, that was very unfortunate there for the Italian. There goes Freeware. Freeware now into 7th position. Milan will dispatch the Italian as well. And with damage in this grid, you are going to lose a major amount of position here. There he goes now in 10th. Sindako moves through. Very unfortunate there for Brainstew. He was in a fantastic position, wheel to wheel coming through sector 1, and it would appear he just got caught. And into that left-hand wall he went, and that front left wing now definitely in need of repair.
a tricky place to send an overtake. We've seen him pull out some great moves so far this race, but that certainly not being one of them. Valo now, without Brainspeed behind him, has Blotel behind him. This time going into turn 1, looking at the Haas yet again. And it's almost like Brainspeed has been replaced by Paris. This time Valo has got the Haas for P1 though. Blotel and Paris, they're going to go wheel to wheel through turn 4. Paris just having a look around the outside of the Mercedes. Not going to find anything though. It's a very, very challenging bit of section. You're going to find a move 1 in 1,000 times. But Shenjie as well, he's come back into contention a little bit. As these guys are starting to get slowed up by the Haas and Valo, this is his one opportunity to try and break out that 1 second gap again.
Well, Blotel knows that Tim still has to pit here, but he can't be too patient with this Haas because Valu wants to build a gap. Blotel doesn't want to let it happen. We come out of the DRS zone here. We're rear wing wide open. Now for the Mercedes, wheel to wheel coming through the turn. We have a beautiful aerial shot here. Space is being left by both of these drivers. It is absolutely beautiful between these two, and Blotel will get that move done as we come into the penultimate turn here. Paris now will come through the iconic banking, staring down the rearview mirror of this Haas, and look at the carry of momentum coming out of the Ferrari. Where's Shenjie in this? He's not close enough. It's still wheel to wheel as we make our way into turn 1. Paris on the rear of that Mercedes, so tight. He's now into 3rd position, wheel to wheel with Tim on the exit. Tim will drop to 4th position, and now Shenjie will be looking to inherit another position from the Haas as well. What a race.
Yeah, really, really nice driving from these guys, keeping everything clean and tidy. And you've got to remember, Tim really isn't in this fight. He is in terms of track position, but in terms of race position, this is not where he will be finishing this race up in P4. Unless, you know, something drastic changes. I imagine at this point he's definitely going for that medium ZOS strategy in this Haas. He'll pit in around 4 laps time, I reckon. Lap 22. And that's just going to cost him Shenjie a big slide coming out of turn 11. Is that going to open any opportunities for ZZ9 down into turn 1 on this Alpha Tauri?
Well, I'll tell you one person it's opening opportunities for here, Unicorn. Freeware in P7. 1.1 seconds the gap to this train ahead of him. And Shenjie behind Tim right now, he's being held up, and as a result, of course, ZZ9 is being pushed into Freeware. If Freeware can get within that DRS range, he's golden. Tim now, a sitting duck for Shenjie. ZZ9's looking at him, using a ton of speed, coming down into turn 1, but it's not going to be the move here. Freeware now 1.5 seconds behind because he's fighting with Milan. Freeware holding off Milan through turns 1 and 2. But this isn't good for him and his chances to the drivers ahead, but we'll see if ZZ9 gets held up by Tim as well. Dougie, the McLaren, into the pit lane. Domi is 4.1 seconds off of Dason, who's now in 12th, and a little bit of a train behind the Spaniard and Alex Biddo.
Yeah, things just so tight. A few gaps starting to break this DRS chain up a little bit. ZZ9, like you said, the next person with Tim in their sights, and it looks like he might have a run down into turn 12. It's going to be tight though if he goes for it here. I'd expect it into turn 1 rather than here for the Renault driver. He needs to conserve. There's a lot of points on the table for ZZ9. He just needs to play it patiently. Patience. I said it at the start of this race. I'll say it again. Patience really is the key to Zandvoort. You don't have to just go for all of these insane dives at the inside. They don't always work, and when they don't work, it spells disaster for those involved.
Here goes ZZ9.
Here he goes.
Yeah, easy as you like into turn 1 there. Finally getting that clean overtake done through into the first turn of the lap. Tim now will have Freeware behind him, but he has played a major role here. You know, this coming season in Formula 1, we have young Mick Schumacher coming into Haas. Well, I'll have to say Tim, just played a fantastic Rubens Barrichello for the young Schumacher because he just brought Milan straight into this train.
Yeah, plus he's going to be pretty dangerous on those soft tires at the end of this race, so I wouldn't count him out of the points, but definitely not going to be fighting those people. And like you said, he's just done Milan a huge favor, and Milan is dancing all over the gearbox of Freeware. Freeware, 17-lap-old mediums, pretty much on an identical strategy to Tim now. And well,
here goes Sindako. Sindako very tight at the rear. Milan, he gets it broken down just into the turn. Not too much between him and Milan. He was so tight, and he was really wanting to make an overtake there. I could sense it, but he got on those brakes just in time before it could have been a little bit of a tap into the turn. Now Freeware on the rear of Tim. Milan looking at this as well. Tim goes in. He says, "All right, it's all you, my friend. We need to get in for some fresh rubber. Freeware. 18-lap-old mediums will now need to fend off Milan and Sindako behind him. Tim's coming in for softs.
Yeah, not really any other choice. It's going to be a little stretch to get into the end, but it is possible. I don't think, like I said, he has much choice. He's going to come out side by side with Domi. I think the Ferrari will just have the legs on him. He does. 3/10 is the gap, but fresh softs on Tim's car should see him be able to dispatch this Ferrari. Although a slide coming out of turn 4 for the Haas. That's not how he wants to start his stint on those softs.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Fraser Dason right now looking quite racy coming down the hill as Dason wants to get that final points position. Fraser playing the gatekeeper right now for that individual point as Biddo is in 9th position, still on his starting tire.
Yeah, Paris, Blotel, those two still tight. The front 5 now, these are the only 2 within DRS range of each other. Front 5 starting to separate out. Valu starting to just run away with it just a little bit. Here goes the Ferrari. He's got a brilliant run of speed. We saw this on Tim, but this is for position. This is for finishing position as well. And there goes Paris up into P2. Blotel is going to have a look to try and find an answer for the Ferrari, but I don't think he's got one. And he is going to be rejected down into 3rd place for the time being. Can the Ferrari now hunt down Valu, his championship rival for P1 here at Zandvoort?
Well, it's a battle everyone's wanting to see. Paris and Valu at the front of things, fighting it out for race wins, and it's going to be a Red Bull versus the Ferrari with Blotel not too far behind in the Mercedes. Where have we seen that before? Meanwhile, Freeware with Sindako in his rearview mirrors, really putting some pressure on as he is starting to get a little bit of loss in pace due to the tire life that he's on right now. 19-lap-old mediums. Milan ahead of him, giving him a little bit of a life raft here in DRS.
And Sindaki just looking for a way past, and 6-lap-old mediums just like Milan, and we could see him Freeware a little bit of a weave coming out of turn 13, but still just about ahead of the racing point. Is that going to cost him though? Down as Freeware, he's going to come into the pits. Those mediums have had it. He is going to be on sus to the end. Tim's in P13. Are we going to be able to see Freeware climb into the positions? Points 9 for Alex Biddo, 22-lap-old hards. I would expect to see him come in before the end of this race. Fraser and Dason as well. They could go to the end. Very, very tough, but they could do it. But Freeware going to be hot on their heels at the end of this race.
I just took a look at the energy of the top 3, and I have to say Paris is in a good position in comparison to that Red Bull. Paris is just cruising in comparison to what the 2, well, in front and behind him seem to be doing on their battery deployment.
He's got to catch that Red Bull in order to fully utilize it, though. And he's got to be careful that the Mercedes behind him doesn't use the DRS too well and get back past here. As the gap right now, 1.6. We'll monitor it over the next few laps, see whether he can start crunching it down. He's got 12 laps to do it.
Where Biddo is going to land in this race now. He's made his way into 8th position, 22-lap-old hards. He was at the back of this grid at one point as Microlander and Dougie Falcons are exchanging. Dougie, very fresh rubber in that McLaren right now. Microlander not having a very good time of it as Brain Stew. Well, he's looking to catch up with things as well. He's on some fresh mediums. Let's see what he's able to do with this Red Bull now. You see Microlander dropping on the brake instantly. He knew. He knew that Brain Stew wasn't pitting. Microlander had other plans.
Yeah, and that's let's get into the pits. A lot of the drivers as well. Fraser, Biddo, both onto fresh softs as well. You said just then, where do you think they're going to finish up? I don't think they're going to finish in our points. It's a longer stretch to get there. The gap between Freeware and Dougie Falcons, 7.5 seconds. They're behind Dougie. I don't see them clawing their way back into the points here. Not impossible, especially if we saw a safety car.
Oh, wheel-to-wheel action right now. Tim versus Freeware. Of course, Freeware on the super fresh softs right now. He is looking very fast in this AlphaTauri. Tim holding him off at the moment, and Freeware wants to get through the Haas to get to the other Ferrari ahead. What a dynamic race it's been for the German.
Yeah, still points on the table for him. You know, the start, he'll want to forget it, but the qualifying, very, very impressive. I'm pretty much guaranteed that is the new lap record here for MRL. As Jason's it's a huge lunge from turn 1 from Freeware, and that should be the move on the Haas, but Tim might be able to find the traction. He's not. What an excellently executed move from Freeware. Very, very nice stuff from the Avatari. And he's going to have a look at Domi as well. Strift, 12 lap hold hards on the Ferrari, 1 lap hold softs on the AlphaTauri. This is what it looks to come down to. And we were told it's a dry race, but it's getting very overcast as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. It's starting to look like rain might be on the horizon, but as we were told, the forecast is dry for this one. We haven't had a safety car. I've seen safety cars play with weather before, but we'll just have to see how things unfold here as we make our way through the final third of this race. Freeware absolutely charging down Domi right now. He's pulled away from Tim a little bit. Freeware showing good pace right now, trying to build up a little bit of that battery.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him have a look into turn 1 again. It was a brilliant lunge last lap. Can he repeat it lap after lap? There he goes, DRS on the Ferrari, a great carrier speed with the use of ERS, and here he goes. He's not even going to need to lunge because he's already got the position before the turn, and that's exactly how you should do it. Domi has a little look for the switchback, but he just doesn't have the pace. As Bido, a 110.5 in the Mercedes. And Dayson and Fraser as well.
Yeah, Dayson clearing Fraser into turn 1 here. Fresh softs for the two of them. A lot of long, hard stints for these guys, and now they're coming in with the fresh softs at the end of the race. So everyone's going to be looking quite rapid. Meanwhile, we have Valu in first position here, holding Paris at a 2-second gap right now, while Blotel hunts down the Ferrari in front of him.
Valu's actually been extending that gap.
Yeah, he's been slowly building it, and Shenjay right now, 1.3 seconds is the gap between him and those podium runners ahead. ZZ9 has dropped off of Shenjay. Milan, however, has plans for the Renault. DRS now in utilization. Not a lot of battery at his disposal, but I think we might see a run here coming from Milan. To the outside he goes. ZZ9 looking for the hold. How's it coming through? ZZ9 on the inside now has a great exit. As we come through, Milan around the outside will stick it on ZZ9 for the time being. Neatly done from the Haas.
Yeah, those 11 lap hold mediums, they're going to be useful right now. At the end of this race, they're not going to be feeling brilliant at all. It's a real hard sell, that soft to medium strategy that he's trying here. And, well, still just under 10 laps left. So it's going to be tricky for him to get those mediums to the end ahead of ZZ9. ZZ9's tyres, they will go to the end on those hards. We've seen some monster stints coming out of them. Lil Blotel still clinging on to DRS of Paris, and Paris still dropping off at about 1.5, 1/10 per lap on Valu ahead. And that Red Bull really wanting to claim his first win, it would seem, keeping that gap above 2 seconds.
A very intense battle for the, well, something we haven't really seen play a role in these races today is the penalty situation. I mean, we have 2 drivers with penalties right now, Tim with 5, Bido with 3 seconds, which can play a role at the end of these races. But these guys, realistically, in the top 10, aside from Tim, without any penalties, means everybody's fighting on track. Everyone's fighting against those times they're seeing on their interval tower. And we see Blotel just sticking within that 1 second range of Paris. And as long as he's able to do this, he'll be able to build that gap to Shenjay behind him. Shenjay has been dropping off consistently.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate for him, and he needs to be careful about Milan as well. And that sort of fast-moving Haas right now could still be a threat if he gets past before the closing laps. We don't have too many laps to go, so any moves that are done now, you've got a limited amount of time to retake the position. It's like we've said time and time again this week. People are probably tired of me saying it, but it's so hard to overtake here. And in the closing laps, if people are desperate for that move, that's when mistakes are made. That's when people go for ambitious dives. And that's when both drivers start to crash out of the top 10. And that's when it opens points up for people like Freeware, people like Domi as well. And we'll just have to see how this race unfolds in these last couple of laps now.
Dougie right now has Alex Bido charging in his rearview mirror as Dougie looks to try and take brain stew as well. And we have a little train formed here for this 11th position. All of these drivers, I imagine, wanting to find themselves in the points in some capacity. Dougie will be the first to have a crack at brain stew. Will he go for the move here? No. patiently holding off. This is going to give Bido a very close look at that McLaren. Yoda and Brownie exchanging now. The Williams team have had an unfortunate day. Not entirely sure what's gone wrong there. Of course, I'm sure we'll have footage to review post-race, and everyone will have a full picture of what happened with the Williams camp. Of course, guys, if you haven't already, help us out. Join that Discord. It's a fantastic community. And a big shout out to our partners in Next Level Racing as well. Check their website out via the link in the chat and down below.
Yeah, Striff Blotel now dropping off the back of Paris. He's reeled him back in with DRS down the start-finish straight, but he's dropping off the back of this Ferrari pretty rapidly. We've still got Dayson having a look at the other Mercedes in Alex Bido down just outside the points. And with Tim's penalty, Bito's penalty, Dougie, Brainstew, Dayson, they could all be on for that final point if they fight hard enough for it. So very, very possible to score 1 point, and points still very, very important to just pick up as many at this stage of the season. We're only on round 5 of what I believe is 21, if I'm not mistaken, so plenty of points still to be collected over the course of the rest of this season. And Alex Bido doesn't look like he's going to be scoring his debut point here. He's yet to score a point so far this season, and it just hasn't got his way in these opening few races, Striff.
Back of the field right now, a little bit of battling going on between the Red Bull, Williams, and McLaren. Right now we have Yoda, Microlander, and Ace in close proximity. Clean racing here that we're just getting a look at. Further up the grid.
Microlander.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there. Yeah, go ahead there, Unicorn.
Yeah, Microlander on these softs. He's got a penalty, so it's not really going to do a lot, especially in P19, but he's licking all over the back of Yoda, and it doesn't look like there's a lot that the Williams is going to be able to do.
17-lap-old mediums for Yoda. Definitely not a good tire to be on at this phase of the race compared to what Microlander is running.
Well, it really hasn't been his evening between not qualifying, as there's a battle further up. Bido and Dougie Falcons exchanging through turn 1. The Mercedes just picking up P12 and just about getting it stopped for turn 4 ahead of Dougie Falcons. Is going to open up the door for Dayson as well. There goes the Alfa Romeo. The soft tires providing him all the traction he needs. Like I said, Bido has a penalty. Tim has a penalty as well. Dayson brains to his teammate as well. Both could be on for 1 or 2 points each if they play their cards right here in these closing stages.
Well, Fraser has now hooked his train car to Dougie Falcons, and this is going to bring him into the fight as well, and I don't think anybody wanted that, but here he is knocking on that McLaren's door.
Yeah, Dayson really tight to the rear of Bido as well. And I don't think that there's too much difference in the tyres. Dayson 1 lap fresher, and maybe at the end this could cause Bido to make a mistake on those tyre wear, but the penalty is enough to see Dayson finish ahead of the Spaniard here at Zandvoort.
Lap 32, one thing to talk about is that Blotel has dropped out a little bit further behind Paris. He's still within that DRS range, but Paris has ramped things up, it would appear, in that Ferrari. That gap that Valley was building has been, well, Paris has slowly started to break it down, it would appear here. It was over 2 seconds a few laps ago. Now we're dancing around the 1.5 second range, and that could be making the Red Bull nervous. We'll take a look at where Dayson is still with the Spaniard and Alex Bido coming through Sector 2. Albeit not a fight for points at the moment, it is definitely a fight for track position and, as we always say, bragging rights.
Yeah, one thing to talk about, you mentioned Valo and that gap dropping off. Is it the tyres, Striff? Paris has started to use a bit of that battery as well. He was sitting around 50%. Now, tyres, 2 lap fresher. Valo's 21 laps old. They're going to really be feeling the strain. Obviously, Paris's are still 19 laps old themselves, but with the ERS advantage, he's got the tyre advantage as well. This is the chance that Paris might just be able to capitalize on it. It's looking unlikely. It'll be half a second a lap, but it's possible. Paris apparently on 60% wear, according to Jake in the chat. So big thank you for that information. Whether Valo is on, in that puncture territory. I highly doubt it with just 2 laps extra on the tyres, but it depends how he's managed the tyres. He hasn't been in that DRS, able to just sort of relax a little bit like the other guys in the train were, considering he's been conducting it for all this time.
Going to transgender right now. Milan ZZ9 still within range of him, and Milan on these 17-lap old mediums is still within a second of that DRS, but absolutely no battery in that car at the moment. We'll see what he's able to do as we jump into lap 34. Valu, Paris now. Oh, I have to say Paris has really been on the move, because look at the gap now. 1.2 seconds nearly the gap between Paris and Valu ahead.
He needs DRS drift, he needs it, and it's not far off, but if he doesn't get it, at least going down into turn 1 at the latest, I don't think he's going to have it, but he's getting so close. He's within 1/10 of that detection zone. I don't think he's going to get it down into turn 12, but turn 1 it's looking very likely. There it is. But 1 second interval, and he's got it. He's got DRS down into turn 12. This could be the opportunity he needs. He's going to reel in that Red Bull even faster now. Down into turn 12 they go. The Ferrari is absolutely soaring right now in these closing few laps. And he might just have value here at the end, Striff.
Well, Lil Blotel just sitting here behind the Ferrari with a high-tension tow cable, and he might just be able to fish himself DRS as well. He's just out of it. So Paris, he's shaken one tail, and he's picked up a target ahead in this Red Bull. We're now on to the penultimate lap here around the Netherlands. It is round 5, Tier 1 MRL action, and Valu is leading this race on lap 35. He has Paris in the Ferrari behind him, hunting him down through the first sector. Lockups coming through for both drivers here, and well, we're gonna have to park it here quite closely, because this is a fight for the win of this race between the Red Bull and the, of course, Ferrari, and Blotel is not too far behind. If either of these drivers make a mistake, if they battle too long, Blotel is going to be right there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, well, catching is one thing, but
oh, Bito's in the grass.
He's
in the gravel. Bito's gone off outside turn 1. We're going to jump back in a second, but it looks like no damage. Oh, front. Oh, he's missing both end plates. Both end plates are missing on that Mercedes. Not entirely sure what's happened as a result. Dougie here on the penultimate lap of this race, hunting down Fraser.
Paris within half a second of Valo, or just outside of that range, I should say. But he will be. He's used up pretty much all of his ERS, though, as has the Red Bull. It's going to be sheer pace that decides this one. They're both on 0% going into the braking zone at turn 1. It's the last lap of the race, 4/10 the gap. He's got one more opportunity. Basically, turn 12 is his only option. Maybe if he gets a good run out of the last corner and is side-by-side coming out of it, he might be able to get the run to the line. The line is pretty late on that start-finish straight, but it's going to be super tight. It might even be a photo finish if these two get close enough, but Valu is going to be looking in his rearview mirror. His first win of the season is in his grasp. It's within touching distance, but the Red Bull has to fend off a very hard-charging, prancing horse behind him. And here we go for the Ferrari, but I think Valu's got the exit he needed. That was pretty much perfect. And there's no way through down into turn 12 for the Ferrari, but it's not over yet. There's still a couple of corners to go. Paris, a little snap out of turn 13 into 14 goes the Ferrari. I don't think he's got it here. Valu should take the checkered flag first. DRS for the Ferrari. Valu weaving in celebration, and it is the Red Bull picking up his first win of the season. 4 podiums already, his 5th here, but the first on the top spot shift. Blotel's going to join those two in 3rd place.
Wow, that was an amazing race. I hope everybody in the chat enjoyed that one. We're going to have interviews with the top 3 in a few moments. Of course, we're not done just yet. All the drivers coming across the line. Domi now in the other Ferrari. He will cross 9th here as Brainstew behind him will cross in the Alfa Romeo. It will be a 10th place finish for him. Fraser will just miss out on points in 11. It's a battle to the line between Tim and Dougie. Dougie will get that position as a penalty was handed down at the line. Dayson behind in 14th position with Brownie 15th. Ace in 16th. Bito 17th here. Microlander in 18th. Yoda will finish the race. Unfortunately, the last driver to finish in 19th position in the Williams.
Yeah, what a race. Some real late minute drama coming out of Paris, not quite able to close down that gap, but I'm sure we'll hear what he has to say in just a few moments in the interviews. But there he is, driver of the day as well for the Ferrari. Very well deserved. He really put on a display. There are a few drivers, I think, that would have been in contention for that as well had they not got into incidents. But there is the podium. And for the first time in the season, Valu on the top spot.
An excellent race, I'd say, start to finish. A couple of incidents, a couple of little dramas. Of course, the stewards will have an opportunity to review, and the drivers, their POVs and things like this submitted. But Valu, finally, Unicorn, victorious here. The Finnish driver, the Red Bull driver on the top step there. Paris joining him along with Blottel. The Mercedes squad is going to be absolutely thrilled with the podium after a shaky start to the season. Shenjie will take 4th position here. Milan in 5th. We have ZZ9 there in 6th. Sindako 7th. Freeware in 8th. A very, very unique and dynamic race for Freeware. He was taken at the start by Valu for lead of this race, and he was caught up in some, well, drama or some unique scenarios, I'll say, but it was pole position for him. He drops to 8th. Domi, the Hungarian, the Ferrari driver from 11th to 9th, he will get in the points. Double points finish for the Ferraris with Paris there in 2nd. And then we have, well, Brainstew, the Alfa Romeo, crossing for that final points position. Well, we take a look at the fastest lap. Who's got the fastest lap on the grid right now? It was Yoda, 109.990 from him, so he will take that point out of the top 10. And I have to say, it was a great race all around. Probably one of the most intense finishes we've seen this season, especially considering Valu and Paris were separated by just less than 4/10 at the line. Seen closer finishes, but this one really giving us a solid race here around the Netherlands Unicorn.
Yeah, so just, again, you don't really expect coming into a week of Zandvoort races, or at least I didn't, the amount of overtaking, the amount of action we've got out of this track, but these drivers continue to deliver. It was at the start, there was that huge DRS train, but a few incidents and the pit window is the key around here. It really shook things up. It really created that drama. It thrust a few drivers down into the grid. They started fighting. You got to look at Brainstew. He was on an absolute charge at the start of this race, but he just put his nose where it didn't belong in that first sector, coming through down into turn 8, and that's just where you see it go wrong. A driver who's got 3, 4, 5 positions off the start, throwing it all away there, breaks the DRS train, and it opens everything up. And, well, Paris took full advantage, P8 to P2. What a monster drive from him. Blotel as well, 3rd to 3rd, just holding station. Those front two, well, Valu and Blotel, and it's starting P2 and P3, they just kept everything together when everyone else was just sort of crumbling around them, and Paris picking up the pieces as well, joining them on the podium. And it looks like they are all there, ready to be interviewed.
Well, here we go. Joining us on the podium, 3rd place finisher, Mercedes driver for Tier 1, Lil Blotel. Hello, my friend, and welcome. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish, sir. And how was that race for you?
Hi, Steve. First of all, thank you. I mean, these guys in front were so damn fast. I mean, I could hold for a few laps Paris battle, but then it was impossible. So nice, this P3.
How did it feel without a safety car in this race? Was that something you were expecting? No safety car, or were you kind of preparing more for a safety car given how the races have gone earlier this week?
No, definitely I didn't expect any safety cars. It's rarely seeing a safety car in Tier 1, and I didn't expect it.
Well, it was a very, very intense race. You held with Paris for a very good chunk of it. You said a few laps, but I'd say you held with him for a great deal of that race. It wasn't until the very, very final few stages where he ended up moving ahead to catch Mr. Valu. But congratulations to you on the P3. We hope to see you here again very, very soon.
Thank you, Steve. Hope being here again.
Thank you. All right, joining us Not the first time, not the second time, but for the third time now with a podium. It is Paris, Ferrari driver. Congratulations, sir, on the second place finish. It was so close, yet so far. Why don't you talk us through it?
Well, for this race, I made some new changes to my whole setup and stuff. So it's like the first real competitive race I've done after reorganizing my whole stuff. And so obviously qualifying wasn't the best, but from P8 to be in the fight for the win is something really, really special. I was not expecting that.
Was it a very intense surge at the end of that race? You were dancing around the 2-second range, caught our interest heavily, but you had a great battery, well, reservation, I want to say, through this race. Why don't you talk us through your deployment here? What was your strategy on battery? Because you were putting on a clinic out there for the rest of the drivers, if I may say, compared to, at the very least, the driver ahead and behind you.
My strategy for battery really was to just not touch it unless I actually needed to. And like the moment, if I was going to make an overtake, that's the only time I'd push the button. When I was doing the hot laps and stuff, boosting out of corners, you can't afford to do that around Zandvoort because it just saps the battery too much. You're not regenerating enough. I was just about able to go neutral, which allowed me to just maintain what I had. But if I use anything, then it just goes down and down and down. So it was a really, really hard task trying to close in on value with no battery usage whatsoever. And once I got past the blotel, I just had to try and gun it.
Well, congratulations. It was a very hard-fought race. It was a great surge at the end. Not enough to get that race win, but as you said, it was fantastic to be able to fight for it. Second place, so not all is lost, and well done once again, Paris.
Thanks, man. One step backwards, hopefully 2 steps forwards next time.
Very good. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week for Spain. All right, last but not least, and of course I always give the winner to a unicorn, but I just want to say, Valu, you've been with us a few times this season, but finally with us as a race winner. Congratulations, sir. Unicorn, all yours.
Yeah, Valu, big congratulations. The 5th race of the season, your 5th podium, but the first on the top spot. How does it feel to finally get that race win?
Yeah, feels good, but I'm surprised it was Zandvoort where I got my first win of the season. My pace in quali especially wasn't very good in practice, and I didn't have a lot of time to practice this week, so I'm happy.
Well, you put in an incredible qualifying lap, one of 3 drivers to get under that 108 into the 107s, and then from there, obviously, Freeware had those opening lap issues that put you into the lead, and we heard you got held up in the pit stop. How was that opening section of the race? You seemed just so composed when everything seemed to be going wrong around you, and even a couple of things going wrong for you. How was that opening stage?
Yeah, the first stint was pretty lucky to get out of the RS because Freeware got damage. I got massive oversteer in T1, got his end plate off, and then I just had the gap. I was just managing the gap first stint, saving my ERS, but then I went into the pits, and the 3 guys behind me pitted, and I got held up 3 seconds, so that wasn't ideal.
Well, the first stint, like you said, a little bit lucky. Then you've got that end bit. You've got 5 laps where Paris, he finally got past Blotel and is absolutely charging you down. He had 2 lap fresher tyres. How worried were you that he was going to catch you? Obviously, he was just burning through his battery at the end, trying to get the move on you. You had very little left. Just what were your thoughts in those closing few laps?
Yeah, I ran out of ERS lap 20 something, and I just kept spamming my ERS every exit after that. I knew if I can just hold up Paris till lap 34 out of the ERS, then I can win. I was just doing PB after PB laps at the end.
It certainly worked out for you, and now, with this you finally got that race win. You've been on the podium every single race. Paris has been really hunting you down in those championship standings, but how are you feeling looking forward to the rest of these races?
I hope we can have a close battle with Paris till the end of the season, so we get nice finale in Abu Dhabi.
Well, thank you for your time, and congratulations on finally getting that P1. You've been thoroughly consistent and very well deserved here around Zandvoort.
Thank you.
Valu, that was an amazing race, start to finish from everybody. I have to say, definitely one of my favorites of the season so far, Unicorn. Of course, that is it for coverage of MRL Tier 1 for Unicorn and I. So we are going to go ahead and raid. We're going to be raiding Mr. Ace Richie this evening, so we hope you'll join us for that. Now, we do have a few more races happening this week, of course, on the MRL channel. We have the APAC race this coming Sunday, as well as Formula 2. The times are in the stream title. They are at 6:30 p.m. SG. I'm gonna absolutely butcher this, but I'm gonna go and find it so I can, at the very least, get those times appropriately announced. 6:30 p.m. SGT and 9:30 p.m. AEDT for those in the Oceanic and Asian regions, and that will be on Sunday. And well, Unicorn, I believe you'll be commentating for that as well. But that is it for us, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before we raid, of course, we'll play the outro, and we will see you guys for racing very, very soon.